All right, today I'm going to show you how to make a sweet potato pie. All right, the first thing you're going to need is some potatoes. Right here I have Otahian mashed potatoes right here, original mashed potatoes. You're going to need sugar. All right here I have cane sugar, a half a stick of butter. All right, some whole milk. You can use skim milk if you prefer. Measuring cup, some cinnamon, a pie shell, which I'm going to poke holes into it and bake this, so it's pre-baked before I add into the filling, and food coloring. All right, so right here I have food coloring. It has red, yellow, green, and blue, but I'm only going to use the red and the yellow. All right, and so for the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and poke holes into this thawed pie crust. Okay, just poke a few holes in this. And then I'm going to bake this for about 15 minutes, to make sure it's done, okay? All right, so let's get started. So what I'm gonna do now is I have 2 cups of water inside of this saucepan, and I'm just gonna turn it on, and we're gonna heat this to a boil, but while this is heating up, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding my ingredients. So I'm gonna take a half stick of butter, place the butter in there. Then I'm going to take a little bit of cinnamon, maybe put a tablespoon of cinnamon there, all right, roughly. And then going to add sugar to the mix. And so we're going to use about a half cup of sugar. And this is going to add the sweetness to the sweet potato pie. All right, so a half cup of sugar. Go ahead and in there, and then while that's in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and break up the butter, all right, so it melts a little bit faster, and then just take the sugar. Let me get in here so you can see it a little bit. Take the sugar and spin it a little bit like that, and this is going to help dissolve the sweetness in the sweet potato pie. So we're going to bring this to a boil, but we also need to add milk. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of milk, about a quarter cup to a half cup. All right. Jeez. All right, so we have this in here, and we're going to just turn it and bring this to a boil. All right. All right. After this comes to a boil, you're going to turn off the flame and let this cool. All right, so let this cool. It'll probably take about like 20 minutes, but let this cool, or you can add ice cubes to it to make it cool a little bit faster. And in my case, I'm gonna add ice cubes to make it cool a little bit faster. All right. All right, so once it's cooled, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my mashed potatoes right here. All right, as you can see, the mashed potatoes, and I'm just gonna pour it into the saucepan. All right, probably about a cup, 2 cups in here, just enough so it gets thickened, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and turn it like this. All right, so you can see it's gonna start to thicken up, and before it gets too thick, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your food coloring, and you're gonna take the red out, and then you're gonna take the yellow, because red and yellow make orange. All right, so I'm gonna take some of this, and I'm gonna put a couple of drops of the red in there. All right, let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. And then I'm going to take some of the yellow, not as much as the red, but some drops. All right, and I'm just gonna stir this together. All right. And if it becomes too thick, you'd add just a slight bit of water. But you see the consistency that I have right here. This is the consistency that you want. All right. And as the red and the yellow mix together, it's going to make a nice consistency of orange. All right. You see that? All right. So just keep on turning this until it becomes a nice orange-ish color. All right. Gotta keep on using a little bit of elbow grease. Like that. You see that? Alright, perfect. Alright. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 2 eggs. See 2 eggs? Let me zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to crack the eggs open. Come over here so you can see this a little bit. Alright. I'm gonna beat the eggs like that. And while the potatoes, I'm gonna check on the potatoes. If they are not cool enough, because I don't want the egg to cook in there because that will ruin the recipe, I'm gonna add a little bit more ice cubes to it. All right, so I'm gonna add ice cubes to it because it's still too hot. All right, and then I'm going to take a spoon, a large spoon, and I'm just going to get this in here, and I'm gonna just turn it in here. Make sure the nice consistency comes around. And the ice cubes are gonna cool this down enough so I can add the eggs to it without cooking the eggs right now, all right? And this is going to prevent me from ruining the pie. And you see how it's coming to a nice consistency, like an orange color right there? That's the color that you want right there, all right? Stir it in there like that. It's getting nice and cool. Maybe put a little bit more ice cubes in there. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more ice cubes. Crush the ice cubes and just keep on stirring it till it gets cool enough to where I can put my finger in it without it being hot. All right, once it's cooled enough, I'm just gonna add the egg to it. And then I'm going to stir the egg into the sweet potatoes, all right? Just like this. All right, just keep on stirring it in. And if the color changes, you see it's changing into like a pinkish, I'm gonna warm up the color a little bit by adding a little bit of red. All right, we want it to be a nice orangish color. All right, and we're just gonna stir this in there just like that. And if it's too dark, you just add a little bit more yellow to orange it out again. All right. All right, the pie shell is done. As you can see, it's a little cracked, but I'm not gonna worry too much about that. And the potatoes has reached the right consistency. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and I'm going to fill the pie crust. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up. All right. There's a little bit extra, so if you have another pie crust or shell, you can add that to that. All right, so I'll put that in there. All right, and then a little trick of mine is just do like that and it'll even out a little bit. Try not to lose too much crust. And as you can see right here, the oven has been set to 450. I'm going to set this. Let me zoom in so you can see the pie before we put it in. It's at 450. I'm going to bake this at 450 for 15 minutes and then cook it for an additional 45 minutes at 350. All right, let's get started. All right, so I'm going to open the oven. It's at 450, and I'm going to place the crust or the pie in the oven and bake it for 15 minutes like that. And that's going to give it a nice outer coating. After 15 minutes, I'm going to bring the temperature down to 350, and then I'm going to cook this for an additional 45 minutes. Let it cool and then put it in the refrigerator, and that's how you make sweet potato pie. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks a lot for watching.